Hey guys, I'm Phoenix here, and welcome to a little chat about Alex Mayer. Now, this is a woman who composes music for hire, and she has recently come into a contractual debate with Imago Softworks, I believe, or Software, one of the two. Anyway, over their use of her work in Star Maze and DSP. Fine. Yeah. Simple case. All that's needed is a lawyer to come in and look at the contract, take it to a judge. The judge rules one way or the other. Done. The whole thing could be over in weeks. Unfortunately, she took it upon herself to start DMCAing people. 70 YouTubers, people with livelihoods on YouTube. They were sent DMCA strikes. Some were sent multiple. And thankfully, YouTube have actually changed how they handle DMCA strikes. So now if you get a DMCA strike from multiple DMCA strikes from a single source, all those DMCA strikes count as a single strike. Because some of these strikes could have potentially have taken down channels, entire channels. 3 strikes, you're out. And some people were getting 5 or 6 over this. Anyway, she decided to amp things up a bit. She was getting some threats from various sources. I don't agree with that. I don't think anybody should be sent any threats whatsoever. And she decided that she was going to send some threats of her own. One of those went to Sid Alpha, who was covering the situation. And another one went to Leonard French, who is the lawyer dealing with the copyright situation for Imago. Now, that is possibly not the best of ideas, because he lives in the same state as Alex Mayer, and there was a possibility that she could have actually gone through with her threat. He did actually report it to the police, and possibly to the family as well, but I don't know on that. I don't know if he contacted the family or if the police contacted the family. But the result of it was, because there was a concern that she could be at risk of herself or of others, she was sectioned under the American Mental Health Act by force, by police, which is Section 302, I believe, was mentioned. Perfectly within their rights to do so. And she was sent to 2 mental health care facilities, and unfortunately all that we have as evidence from those mental health care facilities are her own words. And she came out of the experience believing that what she was doing was completely right, and that she was completely within her freedom of speech to make these threats. However, people making threats against her, that's not allowed. She'll explode about people sending her threats, but people shouldn't take her threats particularly seriously, apparently. And this is definitely a freedom of speech issue. Should freedom of speech mean freedom of consequences? I don't particularly believe so, and that is the case in a lot of countries, that you can say whatever you like, but people can challenge you on these ideas completely legitimately. There was a great video from Scotland. You basically have this nationalist Scottish person, and he's preaching his, sort of white supremacy type of rubbish that you hear from certain people. And he's got, it's through a sort of loudspeaker type of thing. He's got a microphone, and it's plugged into an amp, and he's telling everybody what he thinks of the immigrants or whatever. And it is completely within his right to do that. However, then comes along somebody with bagpipes, and the guy with bagpipes stands next to this guy spewing his hate, and plays the Scottish national anthem, the top of, the most bellow that these bagpipes can give, and it completely drowns out this guy. So the guy was exercising his freedom of speech to spew his hatred, and the person next to him with the bagpipes was exercising his freedom of speech to drown out the person spewing their hatred. At this point, neither person is technically in the wrong, but the person with the microphone is having a consequence as a result of his freedom of speech. Now, it then does go into the avenues of inciting violence, inciting hatred, all that sort of thing, and that's all stuff for the law to decide whether or not that person was actually exercising freedom of speech, or if it came under some kind of a law. But that situation is a reasonable example of someone exercising a freedom of speech and someone then receiving some kind of consequence as a result of somebody else's freedom of speech to drown them out. In going back to the Alex Mauer situation, nobody should be threatening one another. However, it is happening, and both sides should be receiving some kind of a consequence from that. Alex Mauer, now that she's been released from a mental health care facility, who has been completely vindicated that what she is doing is completely right, has set about trying to DMCA people on Steam, developers on Steam, to which Valve has basically been denying the DMCA any traction, which is perfectly right for them to do, so the developers can continue selling their product, or attempting to sell their product, to people. And the worrying thing there is that Alex Mauer has sent Sid Alpha something to say, more is coming. So for anybody who does get a DMCA against their channel, first thing you do is counter it, and then basically YouTube Gaming are dealing with the situation. But have a watch of, so channels you should be watching. Len French, he is the copyright attorney on the case. Sid Alpha, who's been covering this situation as it unfolds, and Total Biscuit's video on what to do if you get a DMCA strike. It is possible that even if you haven't done Star Maze or DSP, but you've done something with her music in the game, you may end up with a DMCA strike against you. At this point, we can't really tell what her mental state is, but she does seem to be going after anybody who's used any of her music. The consequence, of course, is very real for her, in that she may never work as a composer again. She has exercised her freedom of speech to attack YouTubers, to attack people just unfolding the news, attack developers now. She is doing what she's allowed to do, but that freedom to speak, that freedom to send death threats, threats of violence, threats of DMCAs, whatever, it will all come with a consequence. There will be a price to pay, and that price to pay for Alex Mauer could potentially be that she never works as a composer for gaming ever again. And I'm sorry to say, but I'm alright with that, because we really don't need people who attack the community when they don't get their own way. Let her work in the film industry, let her work anywhere else if she can not attack them as well. But quite frankly, the gaming industry needs far less of this stuff. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.